Today down in the comments, I want to know, do you read tie-in fiction? It could be horror, sci-fi, fantasy, anything, but does it tie into a movie or a TV show or a video game? Do you enjoy it? I know some people don't. I know some people are kind of snobby about it, and later on in the episode I'm going to talk about the kind of tie-in fiction I enjoy, and this question will all make sense. But I'm Adam Cesare. This is Project Black T-shirt. Today we've got a little bit of a doubleheader, two kind of somewhat unrelated things, but we're going to talk about a movie, and then we're going to talk about a couple of books that are kind of links and are kind of different than anything we've talked about on the channel before. So if you like hearing me talk about this kind of stuff, let me know down in the comments and I'll keep doing it. If it's your first time here, I'm Adam Cesare, author. If you like this video and you want to see more horror movie recommendations and horror book recommendations, and go over to my channel, subscribe. I got almost 100 videos over there for you to check out, each one with at least one movie and at least one book. Today we're going to be talking about Richard Friedman's 1986 film, I believe, Scared Stiff. This is brand new out from Arrow Video, who we talk about Arrow a lot on the channel, but I'm going to keep doing it because I love the movies they put out, and I love the care they take with their releases. If you're a fan of 80s supernatural haunted house movies, if you like the house movies, if you're a fan of kind of over-the-top effects work, kind of almost cartoony effects work, this is going to be a movie that you're going to like. And to be quite honest, I hadn't heard of Scared Stiff. It's not something I remember from the video store days. It's not something I remember renting. It's not something I ever remember kind of crossing paths with. The cover looked pretty cool, and I ordered it, and it arrived, and I realized that it's Richard Friedman also directed Doom Asylum. And if you'll remember from my Doom Asylum video, I'll put the little link up. I actually did not enjoy that film. I did not enjoy revisiting Doom Asylum. Kind of wasn't my thing, even though you'd think it would be my thing. Scared Stiff is a feature he made prior to Doom Asylum. It's a movie he made after directing a few episodes of Tales from the Dark Side. So it was kind of like, oh, well, I'm putting this in, but am I going to like it? Am I going to enjoy Scared Stiff? But the answer is a resounding yes. I think it is a fantastic little gem of a movie, a well-kept secret, if you will. It involves a woman moving her young son into a house. We see a little pre-credit sequence. We see how this house basically gets haunted or cursed. It's not really haunted. It's actually cursed. But it's a colonial mansion. Dates from slave times. It was a slave owner, composer, kind of real douchey guy. Used to own the place. Flash forward to the 80s. She moves in with her young son. And her new boyfriend, psychiatrist boyfriend. She's an up-and-coming singer, kind of a pop star. So she's at the beginning of this bigger new career. He's this hotshot psychiatrist. The kid's kind of like, you know, he's growing pains, relocating to a new house. And they start realizing that there is, you know, in the kid's room, there's a hidden attic crawl space that leads up to this weirdo, creepy attic that has a bunch of pigeons in it, and it really is. It has some classic haunted house movie tropes or hallmarks, but not the things you'd expect from like the 80s. It's much more classical, or it starts out much more classical, and then you start throwing that 80s weirdness, that kind of kitchen sink vibe in there. As the new boyfriend, he starts acting out of character. He starts being a little shorter, a little bit less of a, you know, we see him in the beginning and he's kind of like the perfect guy, and then he becomes more and more and more awful as the movie goes on, and you realize that he is possessed by this curse. Whatever curse that the angry slaves had placed on this colonial mansion, this is the guy who's feeling it. It's up to our protagonist, played by Mary Page Keller, to kind of unravel the mystery of why this is going on, protect her son, get him out of the house before they're all murdered by ghosts and goblins and all these crazy creatures that, this isn't much of a spoiler because it is a very creature-focused cover, but this is a movie that really, really runs on its makeup effects and its gore effects, and it has an abundance of them. This is not a low-budget, cheapy, like Doom Asylum. It is mostly one location. It doesn't feel It doesn't feel like a slapdash movie. It feels like a movie that some real money, some real time, some real talent was poured into. And towards the end, towards the last 30 minutes of this movie, there are just an abundance of kind of exaggerated, kind of almost kid movie-esque gore effects. It reminds me of something like I said, the House movies, starring William Catt, the kind of quasi-comedy, quasi-cartoonish, exaggerated state of those ghosts. That's what we get here in Scared Stiff, and it's really, really fun. There is a nice, substantial 30-minute making of, where they talk to the director, they talk to the producer, they talk to the young star of the film, they talk to the composer. It's a nice little package that Arrow's put together. The movie looks great, and it's a movie that just, for whatever reason, I just never heard of. This alternate art they have is really good. And if this is like a blind buy for you, if this is a blind pickup, I say shop with confidence, because I think if you like kind of madcap spookablast movies like this, you're gonna not be disappointed in Scared Stiff. 84-minute runtime, just greased lightning, and then towards that ending sequence, so cool. A lot of cool images, a lot of cool stuff, kind of almost dreamlike, almost like I think they kind of got their lunch ate by Hellraiser a little bit. I think they said in the special features that they came out around the same time, might even have been the same weekend as Hellraiser. Scared Stiff kind of fell by the wayside, but it's back and better than ever from Arrow Video. All right, that was the first half, talking about movie. Now we're going to move to something completely different. We're going to move to tie-in fiction. I don't really talk about it. It's not something I spend a lot of time on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook talking about, because I'm not really a sci-fi writer. I got to brand myself as a horror guy. But growing up, I played Warhammer 40,000. It is a tabletop miniatures game. And I've kind of always had that bug in me, even when I stopped so much playing the game. I kept reading the tie-in fiction that Games Workshop puts out through their publisher, Black Library. And I've always enjoyed the novels of like Dan Abnett and William King. Games Workshop consistently puts out some of the best tie-in material ever. Some of these novels are awesome, and I love them very much. So they got in touch with me, and they basically said, we're releasing Warhammer Horror. We're releasing a line of Warhammer stories, and if you're familiar with the settings of Warhammer 40K, Warhammer Fantasy, Warhammer Age of Sigmar, you know that they are grimdark. They are grim and gritty, futuristic sci-fi stories, but very much already with a horror flavor. But they have kind of pushed that to the forefront in these two releases. These are both from the Black Library. They are both from the Warhammer Horror line. And they were sent to me for review, and I get a lot of stuff sent to me for review, and I'm like, yeah, thanks for the book. We'll see if I get to it. We'll see if I talk about it. I kind of make no promises, especially if I don't want to like talk about stuff that I don't like. But this is tailor-made for me. Ever since I was knee-high to a grasshopper, I have loved the worlds of Warhammer, and the fact that they are doing Warhammer Horror tie-in novels and tie-in short stories and tie-in novellas, damn, it's really, really cool. We're going to talk about both these books. This is Maledictions, and this is The Wicked and the Damned. We'll talk about both of them and what's kind of up with them. But first we'll do Maledictions. This is a book of short stories. It is a mix of the more cosmic fantasy, Age of Sigmar setting, and the futuristic Warhammer 40K setting. But these are what I really, really like about this idea, this line of horror stories, is that a lot of almost too many of the Warhammer tie-in novels, the Warhammer stories, they just focus on Space Marines. They focus on kind of the big good guys, or kind of good guys, these big, larger-than-life, kind of super heroic, super villainous, super powered beings that are almost akin to gods next to human beings. So a lot of the stories just focus on them, but this is a galaxy, this is a world, this is a setting that has a lot of normal people just trying to live their lives in it. And the idea basically behind a lot of these stories in Warhammer Horror is, if you are a mortal person in these insane, baroque, gothic settings. The world's gonna be a scary ass place, and that's the idea here. So there's a mix of like new writers and Games Workshop, Black Library holdouts. Graham McNeil, C.L. Werner, Laura Gray, David Annandale, who I really like. I really like his work. Josh Reynolds, who's another one of the more prolific, more recent Warhammer writers that I really enjoy. But this is really good. It's really fun. They are shorter stories. It does feel like just when you're getting to know something, the characters are all dead. So of these two, the one that I really, really recommend, and if you're a casual fan or if you want to get into the setting or if you want to just check out this new horror line that they've got, The Wicked and the Damned, I would say is for you because it is set up like a classic Hammer or Amicus portmanteau. So you've got, it's almost like the Amicus Tales from the Crypt, where you have 3 characters waking up on this graveyard planet. They're all members of the Imperium, and they don't remember exactly why they're there. They're like, oh, I just know that I woke up in this graveyard, basically, but the graveyard's an entire planet. And they all share their stories, and the stories are little novellas, each written by a different author. And I forget the exact count. It's Josh Reynolds, Phil Kelly, and David Annandale, and they all kind of take turns. I think they all collaborated on the wraparound story, and then each novella is written by one of them. And I absolutely loved this. This is The Wicked and the Damned. There's also an audiobook, and one of the novellas is narrated by Pinhead himself, Doug Bradley. So it's if you're on the fence and you want to just check out the audiobook, I would very much recommend that. You got to hand it to the Black Library. You got to hand it to Games Workshop that they're trying something really new at this. They're trying something really kind of bold and cool. And these books, there's great production value in them. On a par, the writing is exemplary. If you were going to pick just one of the two of these, I would definitely go with The Wicked and the Damned. It's really, really good. And to tie it back to the things we normally talk about on the channel, they're actually re-releasing Kim Newman's Vampire Genevieve novels that he kind of wrote under a pseudonym. Kim Newman, if you've watched any of the special features on Arrow Video, you've probably seen Kim Newman. He's a repository of horror cinema knowledge, but he's also an author. He wrote the Anna Dracula series. He wrote these books set in the Warhammer fantasy setting, and they're putting them back out under the Warhammer horror line, which is a really neat thing. All right, that was Scared Stiff from Arrow Video, and Maledictions and The Wicked and the Damned from Black Library. All three very much recommended. Very, very different things. It's my channel. I'll do what I want. If I want to talk about Warhammer horror fiction, I'm going to do it. If I want to talk about obscure slashers and regional horror oddities that no one in the comments seems to like, I'll do it. If you want to find out more about me or my books, especially the recently Independent Audiobook Award nominated The Summer Job, you can go to my website. It's links down below. You can join my mailing list. I'll send you a free novel sample, a couple free short stories. I very much appreciate you checking out the books, buying them, reviewing them on Amazon, telling your friends about them. I'm Adam Cesare. Have a great day, and I'll see you next week.